All right, Coach Moriarty. I hope I said your name right because I'm a dumb country boy.
It's all good. Yeah, you got it. I usually go by Coach Mort, but yeah, you got the last name right.
Oh, Coach Mort, perfect. Tight ends coach at Texas A&M University Commerce. That's a mouthful, but I got it. The coach, thanks for finally being here.
I appreciate you for having me. I'm glad we were able to finally get this thing rocking. I'm excited about today.
Yeah, I go by Coach Steve. My last name's too Polish, so I'm like, guys, Coach Steve. Don't even bother with it.
I like that.
Except you run into the, hey, Steve. And I'm like, well, no. Hold on, guys. Like, we're not going that route.
No doubt. Yeah, I get it. No doubt.
But no, finally got it. It took us like 5 years to get this going, but here it is. Coach, how did you end up down where you're at? I keep a track of your career a little bit and traveling a little bit. But how did we end up down in the great state of Texas?
Shoot. So, again, I'm originally from the west suburbs of Chicago. I grew up at Naperville, Illinois, about 45 minutes outside the city. And surprisingly, I've spent majority of my career in the South. Prior to this opportunity here, I was the D-line run game coordinator at Cumberland University, right outside of Nashville. I spent time also in Alabama, and I did my grad assistantship at Memphis. So, I'm a Southern guy, even though I'm from the North. This story is a little interesting how it goes because, again, I've been a D-line guy majority of my career. And when this opportunity came available, it was for tight ends H-backs. And, I felt like it was time for a change. It was time for me to get out of my comfort zone with D-line. And, I took this opportunity and, knock on wood, it's been going good so far. So, kind of my story is a little bit different than everybody else's, but, to go from, Nashville, Tennessee to Texas, it's been a crazy ride. So I'm blessed to be able to buckle up my seatbelt and be able to still do it.
Well, that's funny because I live in Naperville now, so that's real funny that you said that because I'm from by Champaign, Urbana.
Okay.
Grew up down there, then went to Eastern Illinois, met my wife there, or she's my now wife, but met her there. She went to York. She got a job in Naperville, so happy life. Had to move up to the suburbs, and it's real funny. So, which high school did you go to?
Because I am a proud alum of Neuqua Valley, graduating class of 2008. So I went to school there, and I actually stayed in the Illinois area. I started my playing career at Harper Junior College when they had a program. In 2008, 2009, we were able to win the non-scholarship national championship in 2008. And then I finished my career at Elmhurst College, and I played for a guy by the name of Tim Lester, who is now the offensive coordinator at Iowa. So I've been around some really good people. But yeah, that's kind of my playing story. And then the coaching side of it is a little bit more of a crazier one.
Yeah. I coached basketball at Neuqua for 2 years when I was up here for Coach Sutton. Still there.
Oh, man, he's the man. He's the GOAT. Coach Sutton's good people. So.
Oh, yeah. Me and his son, Drew, were the sophomore coaches together. And then Tyler's his assistant up at varsity and got there during COVID. And the funny thing is in Illinois, he got all pushed to the spring that year. So, I just got brought on in October, November, and he was like, yeah, whenever we play, you're good to go. You'll be a sophomore B coach. I said, cool. Illinois said whatever day in January you could start. That day I woke up. I had a pounding headache. My now wife had a pounding headache. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to school today. I'm not working. And she goes, well, let's go get tested just in case. And I was like, cool. Oh, yeah, all right, whatever. Ended up having COVID the first day. And so I called him and I said, hey, I know I'm brand new, but I can't be there today. I got COVID. And he was like, oh, no. I said, please don't fire me for missing the first practice. And he was like, no. You could have shut us all down if you showed up. And I learned a lot from that guy, and he's still rocking and rolling.
Still going strong. Coach Sutton is good people. There's a reason why he's had the longevity he has because of what he's done and how he connects with the kids. And, he's a great coach. I think he's probably one of the best high school coaches I've been around. So.
Oh, yeah, I was there for 2 years, learned a lot. And then the problem is then I got a job at Addison Trail, and my next thought was I started to set up practices like Coach Sutton would. And I'm like, well, I can't do that. You're stepping on the head coach's toes there a little bit at the new place. So all I can do is implement a little bit and present it to the head coach. And he goes, nope, this play looks good. Because I said, Coach Sun's the master at plays.
No,
You
he
want
is.
to get a basket? Well, I was hoping you said not Naperville Central, because I've never been so hated until you walk into Naperville Central coaching at Neuqua Valley. Like
Yeah,
you walk in.
yeah, the rivalries are real there. I know, when I was in school, it was Nico versus Wabanzi. That was a rivalry. Obviously, Naperville Central, Naperville North. Now that you got Matea, involved in everything. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been back to the area, but I know with everything, the rivalries and stuff are changing. So.
Yeah, I live right down the street from Matea. I'm like 5 minutes down the street. Where Top Golf is, right off 88.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I live right there. I don't buy, we rent, because I'm not paying Naperville taxes. That's just not going to happen.
You don't want to do that. You'll have more of a dent in your wallet than ever.
Oh, God. Like I said, the only reason why we're here is because my wife's work is 3 minutes that way.
Yeah.
But no, what a small world. You being from Naperville, I live in Naperville. I just think that's funny. Then I drive 20 minutes to Addison every day. And I'm still getting used to the expressways. I've been here since 2018. I don't know how you guys live like that with all the cars. I'm used to 1-lane roads, country roads, the taking my time to get somewhere. And if I don't leave right at a certain time, I'm going to be hitting traffic. And I don't get it. I don't get how people live like this.
Sure, Naperville driving's not for the faint. So, got to deal with it sometimes.
Route 59 isn't at 3:00. Do not go on Route 59. And the other funny story is when I was coaching at Neuqua, I was working at Addison Trail still, or was. And so to leave from Addison to get all the way to Neuqua, there is no good way to do it.
No, you got to bite the bullet and just do it. That's how it is.
It's either like take 355 and get off at 75th and try to get there, or do I get off at Route 59 and get on 59 and go? And Suttons were always cool because we got out of school at 3. They got out of school at like 2:30, 2:45. I'd miss a half-hour practice, and they were like, "You're cool, like it's fine." And
he's really, that's one thing about it. When you work for a guy that understands it, it makes it harder to leave because of the fact that he understands it. So,
who was your head football coach there?
So my head football coach in Neuqua Valley was Brian Wells. So he was there he was the first head coach when the program came out. He was there for a long time. Again, really good coach. Very into priorities outside the football field. Again, he was a good guy to coach for, a good guy to play for. I'm sorry. And he was there for a while afterwards. And I think now he's kind of near the Bourbon A area, still coaching, doing it strong. But no, he was a good guy to be around.
Yeah. Coach Billy there, he's a good guy too. He's their assistant AD. I just couldn't remember if he had been there yet or not.
Yeah, Bill Ellinghouse. Yeah, he was. Coach Ellinghouse was a good coach too. He's the running back coach, and he was somebody I also respected a lot. A lot of those guys that were there in the earlier years were kind of sparked my interest to coach because they were just such great people, and they really cared about the players, especially Coach Ellinghouse. He gave me some really good advice, at the end of our senior year, and I still take it with me to this day. I mean, it's crazy when you think, a lot of people ask, hey, how did you get your start? Did this coach, that coach? It was my high school coaches. They're the ones that kind of instilled that in me and made me kind of, skyrocket and kind of take my step forward as far as getting into coaching.
That was my next question, was who kind of led you to coaching, but like, did you know it was going to be college, or was it high school, or did it just kind of appear that college was the next step?
For me, again, I played at Elmhurst College for Tim Lester. And again, I had those coaches like Coach Ellinghouse, Rodney Jones, a lot of really good guys that were in high school that taught me along the way. And then I transferred to Elmhurst, and a few labrum and bicep surgeries later, I was medically disqualified. And, Tim Lester was the one that really, those coaches kind of got my kickstart to it, but Tim Lester was the one that really really stepped it up. And also a guy by the name of Joe Adams, who I still talk to this day. They're two of my good mentors, and they showed me how to do it right as far as coaching goes. I never thought I was going to coach. When I got hurt, I thought I was just going to get a regular job and go from there. But luckily, I was able to learn from them, and they showed me how to do it. And I'll never forget, they told me when you get bit by the coaching bug, you just can't let it go. It's going to be something that you're going to really love. And they were right. I got bit by it, and it was crazy because I graduated college in 2014, and 2 weeks after graduating college, I moved to Orlando, Florida, and I started my career at the high school level. Started my career at a small private school by the name of the Masters Academy, right by UCF, and then I was there in Florida for 3 years in Orlando, and then after that, I started my career at Boone High School for a guy by the name of Andy Johnson, who again I still talk to today, still ask him for advice. And he was another great coach that really instilled in me how to be a good coach to players, but also how to be a good person. And he was really big in advocating for me to move up to the college level. Again, and I would always reach out to people, and I'd still get the, hey, we're full, but the typical, we're full, but we'll give you a call when something opens. And again, 11 years later, I'm still waiting for some of those people to give me a call. But no, Andy Johnson was really, they both were really big. All of them were really big on me starting my career. And it was 2017. I started at a small, at the time it was a D3 school. Now it's NAIA, called Louisiana College. It's now known as Louisiana Christian University. And I was a D tackles coach on a volunteer level. I knew it was going to be a tough go because the fact that you weren't paid, but you got to get your start somewhere. So I was there for 2017 season, and during that time, I would also start working these football camps: Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, you name it. I drove, and it was funny because when I first got my start and accepted the job at Louisiana College, it was the year that Clemson beat Alabama when Deshaun Watson threw it to Hunter Renfrow for the touchdown. And I was at the AFCA convention, and I met Coach Sweeney, and everyone was taking a picture of him, getting his autograph, and I meet him, congratulate him, and he's ready to get a picture with me. And the girl, that was taking it, was saying to me, "Do you want to take a picture with him?" And I said, "No, I already know what he looks like, but I would love to work at camp." And from there, he gave me his DFO's number, and I worked my first camp 2017, and I started to kind of meet people and see how it was going. I would do a camp tour where I'd go to Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, and I'd work all the way up and come all the way down. And I met a lot of people through there. And then 2018, I accepted the job at College of DuPage as a D-line coach, Matt Foster. Again, would still work the camps, still do everything I could, would still work Clemson and everything. And before the season started, I worked a camp at Central Michigan. A lot of those coaches saw me at other camps, and they offered me a GA job. So 2018, I didn't coach at College of DuPage. I actually started my GA job at the college level, in the MAC at Central Michigan. So 2018 comes along, and we don't do really well. And John Bonamego, who was the head coach, was let go. And then Jim McElwain came in, and then I was there in January 2019, into kind of his week of being there. I got offered a job at University of Memphis as a GA with Deke Adams for Coach Mike Norvell. So that opportunity came available, and I left. And then, like I said, the wild story starts. 2 weeks into being there, Coach Adams pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I accepted a job at Mississippi State," and he left. So the new D-line coach, Tim Edwards, came in, and after spring ball, kind of gave me my walking papers, and that's when I got my first taste of reality of college coaching. He brought in his own guy, and I was let go. It was a time where, welcome to the nature of the business. Just because you make it doesn't mean you make it. But, God willingly, Kevin Johns, who is now at Oklahoma, who was the OC at Duke, he was the OC at the time. He told me, "Hey, in this business, it's not what you know, it's who you know and how long you can stay in it." And I still keep those words to this day. And again, I saw him the other day and talked to him about that. So 5 days after getting let go at Memphis, I accepted a job as the D-line special teams QC at Northern Illinois in 2019 to 2020, and I was there. So, learned a lot from some really good coaches. I worked for Thomas Hammock, the head man, great guy. He was hard on you, but he taught me a lot. And from there, afterwards, I got my first opportunity at FCS ball, where I was a defense assistant for that COVID year, 21 spring, at Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. because the D tackles coach was my college roommate and a good friend of mine, and I played college ball with him. So I was at Samford in 2021 spring, did really well. And then from there, I accepted a job at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa as their D tackles coach. So I did three football seasons in a calendar year, and that was a beast right there in itself. And did the 21 season at Drake. Had some good success defensively with some guys, and then going into 22. I got an opportunity to be D tackle coach in North Alabama, which was at the time in the A-Sun in Florence, Alabama. So I took that job and, went through the season there. But after game 8, because we did not have a good year, the head coach got fired. So then Brent Dearman, who came in, and again, when I tell my story about, how I got started and my trials and tribulations, I'm not bashing anybody. This is the nature of the business. I think the people that I've worked for are great coaches. They've had great success, but this is the nature of the business. This is what I signed up for. So, Brent Dearman comes in North Alabama. I meet with him for about 20 minutes, and he tells me, "Hey, I have a D-line guy." So again, I was let go, and I was back on the hunt. And then from there, going into January 23, I interviewed at Cumberland University, where I was last season as the D-line coach, and got there, and we did some things that haven't been done in a long time. We were able to break some top 15, top 10 categories defensively in NAIA, and it was a good year. And then going into this season in 24, I have a friend here at Texas A&M Commerce named Andy Townsend. He's the run game coordinator. He was here with Kobe Carthel when they won the Natty in 2017, and they were going through the D1 transition. And I've always kept in contact with Andy. He's a great coach, great person. He's coached in the XFL, the USFL. He's coached all over. And, him and I always keep in contact. And then when I talked to him, about 3 months ago, he told me that there was a tight end H-back job open. And he said, "Would you be interested in it?" And I kind of paused a little bit because I've been a defensive guy my whole career, coaching D-line. But talking with my fiance, who's a coach's kid herself, her dad is a coach as well, and talking with him, it was something that needed to be done. So I accepted the job as a tight end H-back coach. My first day was the first day of spring ball. So that was another interesting, a little curveball that got thrown at me. But no one got hurt and no one transferred out. In today's world, the transfer portal can be good and bad. Again, being a new coach. But I'm going into month 3 here. I'm loving it. I'm loving the staff. I think we have a great staff. Our head coach, Clint Dozell, does a great job. Again, and our staff does a great job recruiting and bringing guys in. We're going into year 2 with Coach Dozell, but also year 3 with the transition to Division I. So we start this year against San Diego State. So the opportunity that it presented itself here, not many people get, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity that's been given to me. So I'm excited to be here and excited to get the ground running and coaching in the Southland Conference and getting ready for game 1 with our guys.
Yeah, a lot was said there, and I want to ask you this question. When you were at Elmhurst, did you know Anthony Beltrano?
I did know Anthony Beltrano. He was a transfer in. He came in a little late. Great guy. I know he's a high school coach as well at Addison Trail. Last time I saw him. Great guy. Very smart football player. But also I heard a very smart coach. Him and I have been in contact before about some players. But yeah, I know Anthony Beltrano. Yeah.
Yeah, he's our D coordinator. The only non-smart thing he does is he's a LeBron fan. That's probably the one thing. Me and him argue about that all the time. And it can get heated a little bit, but no, great guy. I was just like, wait, that time frame matches up with Beltrano, so I wanted to ask. Because he talks about Tim Lester and people like that, and he has contacts with people, so I couldn't remember. But you have quite the coaching story and everything else. And something I find curious is I don't know if many coaches nowadays would go through all that stuff that you did, because like at the high school level, we have a hard time finding coaches because people don't want to coach. And I think I don't know if they do all the GA stuff and do all that stuff that you did. Like, I don't know if that would turn people away or if it would help. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if people would do that anymore.
Yeah, and again, and I'm different from everybody else. Again, I'm different from you, just like you're different from me, just like we're all different from other coaches. But I'm a firm believer, and no matter where you go, whether it's high school, college, semi-pro, middle school, you need to make it as if it's your dream school. I always would say to people, because again, growing up in the Chicagoland area, Notre Dame was always on. Notre Dame on ABC or NBC. I always would say to people, you need to make the place your Notre Dame. You better make it the best, because if you don't make it the best, then people are going to see that, and they don't want to be around that. So no matter where I was, whether I'm at Texas A&M Commerce, Boone High School in Orlando, or Cumberland University in Lebanon, Tennessee, right outside Nashville, I made it my Notre Dame. And, I'm a firm believer in no matter where you go and you do that, people are going to want to be there, especially for a long time. And I think nowadays with the high school levels, a lot of high school players are getting, underlooked because of the portal and everything. And, again, I go back to, those high school coaches that made it a good time. There were plenty of times I wanted to quit, plenty of times I didn't want to do it. But, those guys made it worthwhile.
Right. So what's the vibe like down there going from they're trying to transition to Division One? Like, I know you got there after it happened, but is there anything like weird going on down there? Is it like a rough time, or is it just we got to work, we got to go?
For me, and again, I've been through this before because at North Alabama they transitioned to Division Two as well. So I went through that process at North Al. For me, the transition's been good because with recruiting and everything now, because I recruit East Texas and Oklahoma, the Tulsa area, a lot of people didn't know that. And now when you talk about it, it's another FCS school in Texas, but it's also a hidden gem here. We're an hour outside of Dallas. We're an hour northeast of Texas. We're 2 hours away from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So a lot of people knew about Commerce, but now that we're transitioning to FCS, it's going better because now we can get those caliber players here. And, anytime I go recruiting and, when I'm going recruiting or working camps and they see, Texas A&M Commerce and they see, the line and everything, we throw out the lucky L, people are excited about it. And again, it's been also a process, a hard process, because we're trying to get the players in here that's going to help us go to the next level. And again, nothing against people that were there before, but, when it comes down to it, our livelihood's in the hands of 18 through 24-year-olds. And, we need to get guys to win. Obviously, coaching is one thing, but getting players is another thing. That's how important recruiting is. Whether it's the transfer portal or the high schools, you have to trust your eyes. You got to know what you want. You got to know what to look for, and you got to pull the trigger on it. But most importantly, especially with this transition, we got to get guys in here that love to play football, that have a chip on their shoulder, because, we're not everyone's fan. People probably are doubting us, saying going into, because we won one game last year. We went 1-9. That's not great. But I think it's gotten better because people are seeing not only the product reporting out there, people are seeing the energy. People are seeing, how excited we are to be here in Commerce. We had our last camp last weekend, and we had over 200 people from 5 different states come to literal Commerce, Texas, to come see the Lions.
Wow.
And that was crazy enough. Like, we had guys from Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas. We had some guys from Kansas. We had some guys from Arkansas. It's crazy to think that, but people are getting excited about it. It's not they're getting excited because, well, there goes Texas A&M Commerce, the D1 school. They're getting excited because of what the energy we're putting out. And again, we want to win just as bad as anyone else, but we're not going to sit here and tell people we're going to win. We're just going to do it with our actions and not our words. And, and we're getting to that point, and that's what we're doing right now.
Oh, that's awesome, because I was about to ask, like, since you've been in college football so long, obviously recruiting's changed. That transfer portal is a big deal, obviously. And what I like is I like talking to college coaches, because I don't believe what I see on TV as much. They just blow it up. It's like the Wild Wild West, which it kind of is. But like, do you guys hit the transfer portal heavy, or you still stick with high school and stick with that type of stuff? And because they think high school kids are getting neglected now in the portal or with recruiting and stuff. But I think FCS guys, you all do a pretty good job of, like, we're not giving up that high school pipeline because we can't afford to.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll be lying to you if I said we did not go in the portal. Andy Townsend and Dave Ewart, our offensive line coaches, they are heck of recruiters. Again, like I said, our staff is great here, but our staff did a really good job, getting the guys we need to get ready now. Again, we still recruited high school, but the most important thing we needed this year was an offensive line. And Coach Townsend and Coach Ewart, they did a heck of a job getting the guys in, evaluating the guys they want to, and getting them here. Again, we had a couple transfers. We have guys from Lamar, guys from Sam Houston and guys from Maryland, as well as the guys that were here before and that have learned what we wanted them to learn. They've done a great job with that. We also have gotten a really good running back in the portal. We've gotten a really good quarterback, defensive line. You know, I can't say anything enough about the staff here. I mean, have we dipped in the portal? Yes, we did, because we needed to fix those issues. But they were guys that they wanted to play. They were at bigger schools, but they wanted to play because the fact that at the schools they were at, the Sam Houstons and the Marylands and everything, they weren't getting that opportunity. So we brought them here to get that opportunity, and they have done incredibly well. We also still, we still recruit the high school kids because we can't turn them down. I know for me being, the main guy at East Texas, we're going to recruit those blue collar cats because those guys is what we want. The chip on their shoulder guys that come in every day and, they're from Lufkin, Texas or Jasper, Texas or, little old Tyler, Texas. And, we're going to get those guys here because they have chips on their shoulders. And those are the guys we want right there. They may not be the biggest or the strongest, but we're going to get those guys here, and going back to the portal, me being the tight end H-back coach, I came to a great situation. We have our guy who was a true freshman last year, Preston Kilgore, that's still here. And then we also recruited guys. We brought in really good guys. We brought in, Dayton Sweeney and Drew Allison from Trinity Valley Community College that were great add-ons. Dylan Domel from Prairie View A&M that was a really good add-on for us. We brought in a guy from NEMI. We brought in some really good guys. Not to mention, we've also brought in, a Marshall tight end that's from Carrollton. He's done a really good job, So, again, we dip in the portal, but we also keep our high school guys loved too because it's a 50-50 for us, especially nowadays with the portal because if a guy doesn't play, he's going to transfer. Again, it could be anything. A guy, we've seen cases where guys transfer 3 or 4 times. Again, those aren't the guys for us. They may be talented, but we're looking for quality people. So, to answer your question, we go 50-50, but for this transition, we had a dip in the portal.
I talked to an FCS coach, and one comment he made to me about the portal was there's a part of him that feels like FCS in certain situations are becoming like JUCO for the Power 5 because if this kid 10 years ago probably would have gone Power 5. Well, because the transfer portal, FCS can now take advantage and get that kid to come play for them, which is awesome. But then in 2 years, 3 years, becomes All-American, whatever, then they come and swoop. So he's like, well, then we got to replace him right away. Hopefully we've done our job and gotten another high school kid ready to go, but then it's just this constant thing. And so I thought that was an interesting comment saying, like, in a way, for certain schools, not everybody, but it's like a JUCO, like we're almost getting kids ready for the Power 5, which they're not complaining because they use it as a recruiting tool. They go, look, we developed this kid. Now he's at Ohio State or something, and I don't know what's your thoughts on that type of comment.
Honestly, when it comes with that, I'm a firm believer in the place you're at, whether you get a transfer or a high school guy, you want them to stay there. Again, with the portal nowadays, everybody, especially with NIL, they want to jump. For us, I don't say that to people. I'm not going to say to somebody or recruit that, hey, I'm going to get you here for 2 years and then you can move up to Power 5. If a guy wants to transfer and he has the reasons for it, that's on him. I'm going to give my advice for it. I'm going to give my 2 cents, but I'll never tell a recruit, hey, if you come here, I'll coach you for 2 years and get you ready for Power 5. I tell recruits that you come here for 4 years, you will get not only the best experience to help you develop as a football player, but you'll get the best experience to help develop for the real world. Again, I'm somebody like that. I'm kind of old school, even though I'm young, where I still believe in, in values and still believe in keeping guys here. Again, I get asked all the time if I was in college nowadays, would I have transferred when I was at Elmhurst? The answer to me will always still say no because I've learned how to be a great person. We won football games. I was coached by some great coaches. But not only that, they started my love for doing this job. So, again, and some people are like that where they want to get the quick fix. For me, I like a challenge. I like developing players. And again, a guy comes here, I expect him to stay for 4 to 5 years.
Right.
And that's just how it is. Again, if we get a transfer, I expect them to finish out here. Then that's just how it is too. So, to answer your question, I never tell a kid I'm going to get you ready for the next level. I tell them, you come here, every day you're getting ready for the next level. The next level is not a Power 4 school or the NFL. The next level is life. If you get the opportunity to go Power 4 or to the NFL, that's a bonus.
Right. Well, then it's a school pride thing too. Like I think that's again, it's blown up, but I do think there is still some school pride when you look at a majority of players, but some I think miss out on that too when they do leave because like there's nothing better than school pride, whether it's your high school, college. Like you said, if you would you have transferred from Elmhurst? No, because you're old school. You're like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to finish this, and that's a little bit of school pride too. Like, take pride in where you're at and work through the situation and everything else. And I think that's kind of fallen a little bit. But I think a majority of you coaches are doing the right things and saying the right things, trying to live by the old values. But it's just another difficulty when somebody else is in their ear, whether it's social media or this or that. Like, hey, why don't you go here? Why don't you go here? But that's all you guys can do is just work as hard as you can, keep them there, and make sure they're good people and doing your research and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I know Coach Sweeney at Clemson does not take transfers. He still recruits high schools. Why? Because he's a firm believer in development. And again, I don't need to talk about his success because that's why he's successful. And for us, we still develop the high school kid. I still recruit the high school kids. I go into high schools and still do it. Why? Because I remember what it was like to be a high school coach. And I remember what it was like to be a high school player. And again, who would have thought that? That some guy that you may not think is that great was overlooked or underlooked because of size or whatever, ends up being really good. And again, when it comes back to staying, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm old school with that, but I'm also loyal to the people that are loyal to me. And again, if you're loyal to me and you show that, I'm not going to leave or anything like that. I was loyal to people like that because they were loyal to me and they proved that. Again, they didn't talk about it. They proved it with their actions. So, again, I think there's still coaches out there. I understand in some situations you need to win now. I'm not done with that. I understand that. But I do believe if people believe in themselves as coaches, they can get anybody and they can coach them and be the best at it because they're good at their job. That's why they're there.
Right. Another funny story was Coach Bart Miller at U of I, he's the O-line coach. He's been on here twice. And they had a clinic and he texted me, he goes, hey, even though if you can't come to the clinic, I still want you to come to practice. And I said, awesome. So I got to go to practice, be right on the field, watch the thing. And there was this bus it's called Rising Stars. It's like kids that are getting recruited.
Yeah.
They walk up to them and I'm watching this interaction. They hand them business cards. They're handing them business cards and stuff. And then they walk away and I go up to them and I go, is this real? Like, are those business cards? He goes, oh yeah, this is the new wave. He goes, they hand me business cards. Hey, call my guy. Call me here. Call this here. And I said, are you kidding me? And he goes, Steve, recruiting's changed so much. It's not what it used to be at this level. And then I'm like, do you keep all those? And he just was like, what do you think I do with them? Like, and I said, should my kids get business cards or not Division I, maybe Division II and III, but should they get business cards? He goes, no. He goes, the coaches hate them.
Yeah.
Those are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that, but
I mean, I have heard of them before. I personally have never gotten a business card from a kid, from a possible recruit. And again, I think it's different everywhere you go. Now, again, I think that some players want to do that because they want to build their brand, which, you know what, that's great if they want to do that. But I personally have never had that happen to me.
I just couldn't help but laugh. And then a former Illinois player was standing there, and he was like, I didn't know what a business card was till I was like 28. And I started laughing, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't have known at 17 years old.
No doubt.
Like,
no doubt.
And I just could not believe that. And I just tell that story. How's the transition been from defensive line to tight end? You've come over to the good side now, being on offense. You're now on the right side of things.
Yeah. It's been very well. Honestly, it's always tough when you go to a new spot because you always want to be, the coach that does right and that has a really great unit. Again, I'm in kind of a double negative here because not only am I a new coach here, so I'm at the bottom of the barrel, but I'm also a new coach at a new position. Again, I've coached tight ends before a little bit. When I was at NIU, I helped out with tight ends when guys were dropping. I didn't coach. I helped out at practice. But it's been a transition. But for me, I just really want to be a great coach and great tight end coach. And I have great people around me. Like I said, our staff has been great helping me, with the plays and everything. Obviously you always have to learn everywhere you go. But for me, my main goal for this season, and every year I always have goals, but especially this season, my main goal is for us to be great as a group of tight ends, and for us to have a great record. And for me to do that, I have to work as a GA. I can't just sit here and think I'm almighty because I'm at a D1 school. That's just not how it is. For me, I have to work. I have to put my head down. I have to learn from some great people. I got to learn about what everyday drills I need to do to get our guys ready. What responsibilities they have on these type of plays. But most importantly, I have to get these guys ready to play, and I have to have them match my enthusiasm and my energy. And I think if I do that, we're gonna do some really good things. But again, I still have to take it day by day, and still have to keep earning their trust, because it's only been 3 months. And again, I think that's what a lot of people don't understand with coaching is you can't just go in and be guns blazing and be all in a player's face. It's not how it is these days. They have to trust you. If your players don't trust you, you might as well just sign your resignation papers. So for me, being here, with our group, with Sean Silas, who transferred in, Preston Kilgore, Dayton Sweeney, Drew Allison, Dylan Domel, Sloan Hubert, and Blake Horner, my group right there, I have to get them to trust me. And it's not just being a great coach that's reaching out every day, asking how they're doing, conversing with them, getting to know them at a different level, going out to dinner with them. So for me, my main goal this year is for them to trust me. And again, for them to trust and love me, because I am a firm believer that whoever trusts you, player, whoever, they trust and love you, they'll do anything for you. So that's my goal this year, is to make sure that they understand that I'm there for them. I love them, and get them ready day by day.
Right. I was getting ready to say, like, when you go to a new room, how do you conduct it? Because we can't do a 20-page PowerPoint, because they're not going to pay attention to that. And nowadays, like maybe you and I would have, coach comes into a room, yeah, we'll watch this PowerPoint. It's got to be like a page, and it's just basically standards, kind of, but it's also more of a making them feel comfortable. Like, I'm the old line coach at Addison. I probably have the funnest, hardest room ever, because I'm going to be tough on them, but then I'll joke with them. Like, I can be really tough on a play and show it, but then the next play I'll see something, I'll be like, man, I wish you'd run to the linebacker, you run to the buffet or something, like trying to be funny or whatever it is. And they know, and then they start to joke around with each other, and it's not so tense, it's not so intimidating. Now the freshmen are, maybe, and the sophomores, but like once they see it, and especially your older guys look at you, because once it's set, your seniors look at the young guys going, that's just Coach Steve. He's just going to be a dad joke type of guy. Like, get over it. And that's kind of the culture. I don't like the word culture, standard of the room I have.
Yeah. For me, when I came here, it was a little different because it was the first day of spring ball. So it wasn't like I got here in January and they got to know me, and then I came in first day of practice, guns blazing, like I wanted to be. It was really different. For me, it was more of no yelling, no cursing, but just clear and visual instructions and getting to know them. Again, every player is different. My players are different than Incarnate Words players. Your players at Addison are probably different than the players at Neuqua Valley. So you have to find that. You got to find that. What are they good at and what are they bad at? And then you build from there. For me, when I was a D-line guy, I always talked about, how do we want to be named? It wasn't just we were the D-line. We had a certain name. For me, every single time I do a presentation, I go over an install, I have a picture of a Rolex. It's a hybrid Rolex. And I always ask them, have you ever heard anyone with a Rolex tell you about the Rolex, tell you about how much it's worth or anything like that? And all of them say no. And I go, why? And they go, because people with Rolexes don't need to talk about how much they have. They just walk in a room and people know. And I always say, and that's how we want to be this year. We don't have to talk about how good we are. We just have to walk off the bus, show up, and people know that group's ready to rock. And I did the same thing with the D-line. I called us the breachers, that everybody had a job. It wasn't just this guy was the man. Everybody had a specific job. Now transition to tight end H-backs, we're the hybrids where we have to be great at blocking. We got to be great at receiving. So we have to be that hybrid Rolex where we don't have to talk about how great we are, what we're good at. People already know, like, Texas A&M Commerce, that group is good. Don't need to say it. That group is legit, and they're going to prove it. Again, we have a long way to go still. That's not, we are getting there day by day, but we're not there yet to be the Rolex. Right now, I always joke around saying we're the fossil watches right now. But we're getting there. We're getting to that point. Again, spring ball went really well. They proved themselves to me. Now going into summer and everything, they've done great with their workouts. Now fall camp's going to be, a really big, step for us, because now we're really getting it going. And not just that as a group, us learning new things, but now they know how I am. They know how I'm going to be. They know what I'm about. So now instead of me, being that learning, now I can really put my foot on the gas pedal. And, if I got to get up in somebody, I got to get up in somebody. But they know it's coming from a place of love. So I'm excited about this fall camp. I'm excited for them to see the real me, so to say, and see what we're really going to be about. They've seen some previews of it. They've gotten a taste of it. So I can't wait for August 1st to come around and get us rocking and rolling with that.
I'm stealing that Rolex analogy. I really like that.
You can have it. It's yours, my man.
Because I called our linemen this year the protective agency. We got T-shirts made of like the linemen with our logo, and the T-shirts are for like attendance. So when they're there all the time working, I'll give them a shirt, and then called the protective agency. Last year, because I got really big into Feed the Cats with Tony Holler and stuff, I tried to call us the Big Cats, which they didn't like. But I said, screw it. I'm going to call you that. And then this year, it's like, we're the protective agency. Because we're the Blazers. And so I tried to call our sprint thing Feed the Cats. And they're like, no, we got to change it. We're not the Cats. And I said, what do you want to be called? And they said, Feed the Flame. I said, cool, we're called Feed the Flame. So now we're going to get T-shirts that say Feed the Flame. And that's what our sprint group is called. And I did that because I want them to take ownership of it. Like, if you want to call that, that's cool. Whatever you guys want.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you're asking them, because at the end of the day, whether high school, college, whatever, guys want to be coached. But not only that, they want to have a good time. They want to trust you. So again, like you said, you gotta let them kind of get their flavor in there. My group, I'll just say it right here. They make me younger, even though I'm 34. They keep me on my toes. They are an interesting group, but they all are different in their own little way. But, man, they are fun to be around with. So, I kind of let them kind of do a little bit as far as what they're going to break down with. But, man, they are a fun group, and it sounds like your group is fun too.
Oh, yeah, I'll be 34 in November, and I work in the school. The biggest thing is figuring out their new lingo. Like, I'm just learning what bet means and cap and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, God, just say what you mean. And they're like, no. And, oh, yeah, they're a fun group. When I got there in COVID year, I took the job in summer of 2020, and I was like, COVID can't last this long, and well, then we didn't play till the spring, but a kid that fall year, we had a kid, high school ball, it's like in between guy, like he can't be a receiver, he's not really a running back. Where can we put him? Well, what happens? They come to me to play O-line. And he comes down there. I said, this is not a punishment. I'm looking to start you. He goes, what? He's a sophomore, never played O-line. He's like, what? I was like, this is not a punishment. If you're coming down here, I'm going to get you ready. And by God, he started every game his sophomore year, every game his junior year, every game his senior year. And now he's going to play college ball at Elmhurst, actually. He just signed at the end of the school year. And he was my guy that would turn around and like tell people, this is how Steve is. This is how this room works. And was a fun group because like he would find me in the hallway and just say something to me and give me a little bump in the shoulder, like that type of thing. And it's a fun, like, because I hope that my 4 years there has made it fun in that room. Now on the field, yeah, can I get after it? Oh yeah, anybody can get after it. But I think a good thing for me is I'll get after it in the drill, and then when the water break happens, I switch it off and I'll go up to them and like change the conversation, like, oh hey, what'd you do this weekend or whatever, and you just try to get them more back comfortable. Well, Coach Steve, you just said all these words to me for 10 straight seconds of you yelling and ranting. Why are you asking me about my weekend was? And I was like, because I had to turn it off for a second and like, let you know that it's a game. We're here to have fun still. You're here to get work done. It's a bad practice, and I see you're having a bad practice. Let's try to figure it out. And that's how I've evolved. Back when we all played, no, that was never happened.
No, I mean, it wasn't. It was a strictly business, never fun. And again, back then it was fun. Again, I enjoyed it, but right. I didn't want to be that coach. So I think when you show both sides, your players will care for you even more. And Again, I think a lot of people try to just be the dictator, but at the end of the day, it's going to blow up in your face because you got to show that other side to you. You can't just be strict 24/7. You got to show a different side. Like you said, you're way different. Like for me, I'm getting married at the end of July this year. So I am way different as a coach than I am as a soon-to-be husband. So I definitely think you got to learn how to turn it on and off. You can't just be the same person all the time. You got to save it for on the field, and then when you're off the field, you can't be that. You got to just leave it there. So I think it's great what you do with that.
Well, congrats on getting married soon. I just got married.
I
got married last September during the season, and everybody's like, "You allowed that to happen?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not the boss, number one." And I missed a game. It was on a game day, and our head coach said, "This is the only game you're allowed to miss." And I said, "Coach, this is the first game I've ever missed since I was 14 years old. So what do you think?"
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of important that I miss this too, or else I will not be married for long. So
right. Well, then the funny part was they said, "Okay," because I invited them all, but I knew they couldn't come because of the game, and they said, "If we win, we're coming on the team minibuses pulling up. If we don't win, you're not going to be there." And they didn't come, so I'm like, "Oh." Because I had people at like wedding, they're like, "You want to know what the score is?" I was like, "I want to know nothing about the game. This is wedding. I want nothing to do with it.
I want to focus on my wedding right now." Yeah.
Well, then they never showed up. So like at the end of the night, I'm like, "Oh, we must have lost." And then the next day, you wake up and you get a text from the head coach saying, "Ready to get back to work?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's do this." And then all the kids were like giving me, shit for it, like getting married and missing the game. "We needed you there, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Well, I feel special, but why don't you take care of business?"
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you got to throw that little jab in there. Yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah, no, but no, congratulations again. I like this. Somebody left a comment that you're already making a thing. See, people already know. Like when you get the coaching bug, it's 100% true.
Dude, it's no doubt. Believe it or not, like I never in a million years thought I was going to coach. I always thought. There was one time I wanted to be a nurse, which is wild to think about.
Yeah.
Just the kind of ideas I wanted to be. But when I got bit by it, man, it was something. And again, I'm going into year 11 coaching, and when people ask me, I want to coach, what do you think? I think coaching is the greatest job in the world. I always will say to people, I have the greatest job in the world. I have never worked for 11 years of my life doing this job. And I think that more people should coach, whether you're at the high school level or the college level, because you are changing lives. Again, we want to win games. We want to move on. People say, I want to win games so I can move up to the next level, this and that, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're still changing lives. There's nothing greater in the world than winning, but there's nothing greater in the world when a guy graduates with this degree, maybe the first generation graduate ever, and gives you a hug and says, "Coach, thank you for changing my life." I've had that happen twice to me. Hopefully more could happen with that. But I think coaching is the greatest job in the world. And, I'm still doing it for 11 years, and I will probably do it for 100 more years if I could still do it. I'll probably coach till literally I'm on my deathbed because it's the greatest job in the world. I can't get enough of it. And again, I speak so highly of it because this is what I love to do. Many people have a job and they don't speak highly of it. They maybe say, I do this and that, and they don't seem excited about it. There's never a time I come into the office or see my guys where I'm like, I got to see these guys. I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to get in the office, excited to get to work. And I'm always excited to just learn and do everything I can with this job. Because again, this is the greatest job in the world. I think that if I could not get paid for it, which obviously I have in the past starting out, I do this job not based off money. It's because I love it. And again, I think if anybody finds that type of job, whether it's coaching or whatever, then you're in a really good spot in your life. So, I can't speak enough about what I do.
Yeah, I can't agree more. The only thing, maybe because it's high school and I do football, basketball, softball, and speed, there's times I'm driving in, I'm like, oh, it's 6 a.m. I'm driving in. We all have those days. You're like, oh. But then what happens is as soon as I get there, even though I walk in the building, I'm like, oh, I'm back at this school. I live at this school. I'm here for 12 hours a day. As soon as we start, with like speed workout or practice, I don't think about it anymore. And then once we get going and you're done, you're like, wait, we're done. And it's like, oh, I don't want to be done with practice yet. I like coaching them. I like doing that. And so I love that part of it. Could I do without working at the actual school? Yeah, because I just want to coach. But
Yeah, no doubt.
what helps with the building is I'm almost like a therapist. Sometimes kids will come find me and say, "Can I talk to you?" And I go, "Sure. What's up?" Some happen and they want to talk to you, and I'm like, "Well, you want to talk to the counselor or social worker?" They go, "No, no, no. I want to talk to you." And then that just shows the power of like a coach. No offense to social workers and counselors, but sometimes they go, "I don't trust really them. I trust you or the head coach or whatever." And for me, working with those young kids, that means a lot that they'll come up to you and be like, "I trust you with my problems. How can you help me?" And
Yeah, I mean, coaches, we change lives every day. Again, I started off as a high school coach. I was a high school coach and a special needs para professional. So, I used to help out kids with special needs. And, I see, my football players come and help out those kids and also talk to me about their problems. Some of those guys I coached in high school still talk to me to this day. They'll
yep,
send me a random text or they're send me a random FaceTime, and it's crazy to think that, like, I was at the time just a young 24-year-old just trying to figure out life. Just got out of college, trying to figure it out. But like you said, the power we have as coaches, it's incredible. And again, players trust a coach more than ever.
yep, yep. And but then I joke with him like, after you're done talking to me, I'm like, I'm going to call your dad and say I charge $100 an hour, so he owes me $100 for talking to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Well, or then they're like, "Oh, can you come pick me up for practice?" I'm like, "Well, that I can't do legally. I cannot pick you up for practice."
And I used to drive kids to school that didn't have cars. Like I'll never forget. There was a player that I used to do the same. I had to drive him because he came from nothing,
Yep.
and he actually ended up going to Auburn on a full academic scholarship. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but if I ever talk to him again, I just want to fit him a bill for all the times I drove him. But again, if you can change a person's life like that, I think it's great. I think sometimes kids need to also learn boundaries, but again, they're young people these days, so they don't really know boundaries like that.
Oh, I've had it here for a long time. I have a funny story about that. So, like, East Aurora. Then, if you're up here,
Oh yes, 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 yes.
So when I moved up here, I coached at Lombard East for the 2018 season in Lombard, and then I was volunteering. The next year, coach at East Aurora. He's a fantastic coach. Played at North Central, has records there as a running back. He's like, "I need an O-line guy. We'll give you a stipend." And I said, "Perfect. Coach at East Aurora for a year." Those were some rough kids. And he goes, "You're going to have O-line. Some of these kids come from nothing." I had a kid living out of his car because the mom lost the apartment, living in a hotel. He didn't want any part of it. He showered at the school, would go to work, practice. But some of the kids, I was younger. So, when you're younger, you flip out, you're yelling more, you're hooping and hollering. And some of them are like, "You can't yell at those kids like that. They come from like a bad thing and you can't do that." And I was like, "No, blah, 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 blah." Kid comes up, they're walking towards me, and I'm like, "Oh God, what are they going to do?" And they go, "Nobody's ever yelled at, like talk to us that way before." And I'm like, "Oh God, they're going to beat me up or try to fight me or something." And they go, "You all right? If you're ever trouble in Aurora, call this number." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
thanks."
I mean, tough love is sometimes the best love. Like, again, I always say, like, I don't yell at players, I yell towards them. And again, there's a big difference because, like you said, you don't know what a kid's going through. They've probably been yelled at their whole life. And, they're probably used to it. But if they know it's coming from love and they know it's coming from a good place, kids will do anything for you. And we've all heard the stories from the little ones to the big ones. And, it's good that you change lives. You may not know it, but you're changing lives every day with these kids. So
Oh yeah, especially those kids because we had kids. We were leaving practice. There'd be like 10 sitting on the stairs, and we're like, "Guys, like, what are you doing?" They go, "We don't want to go home." And then you sit there and you go, "Well, what can I do?" And there's not much we can do. Like, we have to leave the school, and then we would have to tell the student supervisors, like, "Hey, let these kids just sit here. They're not hurting anybody." Team dinners, coaches would never eat it. We'd give it all of our portion to those players and be like, "You're not going to have dinner later on. We know you may not have breakfast. Put this in the fridge and take it." Saturday mornings, donuts, coffee, because we know they may not eat breakfast. Like, you're trying to get that going for them. And so that was my first taste of that because I coached at Charleston High School at Eastern, which none of those kids have that problem. Sort of saw it at Lombard East. That was huge at East Aurora. And then Addison, it's a little bit. but like that just changed my whole perspective of what kids go through at home, because I never saw it where I grew up in a small town. You don't see that. Charleston, you never saw it. Glenbard East, kind of, but they have a little bit more resource being the Glenbard School District.
Yeah.
And then East Aurora was my big vision of it. Then Addison's another big vision. And so I realized just bringing them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like, oh my God, this guy cares. Oh my God, he brought the protein shake. We take our fundraising money and buy that stuff for him. And so like they know that that's coming from us. And so that's what I've learned. But Coach, I appreciate all your time talking to me today. It was great finally getting it done. You're doing good things down there.
I appreciate that. Again, we're getting there. Again, appreciate your time and everything. Just kind of letting me tell a little bit of my story and a little bit about this crazy journey we call a coach journey. But no, best of luck to you. I know you're gonna keep doing great things, and hopefully you can do this again.